Hey, good evening, friends. Welcome back to my Vedic astrology channel, Astro Satyajit on YouTube. And today, though the topic might sound quite common, okay? However, we are going to discuss something absolutely different Hey, good evening, friends. Than what you might have heard from anyone on YouTube, at least, okay? And so we are, the title says for the discussion today, Raj Yogas and Dhan Yogas in Vedic astrology. And there are multiple videos that are, available across platforms, particularly in YouTube, where different soothsayers, different astrologers are explaining us, different yogas, different Raj yogas and Dhan yogas that are getting formed in one's horoscope. Okay. Now, it's very, very, very imperative. At times, you might find that those Raj Yogas are not working or maybe are not getting manifested the way, the Vedas or the scriptures or the scholars or the rishis have explained it. Okay. And then begins, that question that does astrology work exactly same for all individuals, or is there some intervention that free will has, or there is an influence of free will over bhagya, or an intervention of free will over destiny? Okay, today we will understand why is astrology important for all. What exactly do we need to understand from our Vedic chart, and how we can ensure by applying some amount of free will, or maybe by doing certain karmas, or by doing certain tasks, we will actually activate a yoga which is getting formed in our horoscopes. You will definitely find people having similar combinations in their horoscope, and maybe the planets involved, uh, their Mahadasha or Antardasha also has been experienced by different individuals in their lifetime. However, still, one individual is able to, I would say, realize, or in their lives, the entire yoga gets manifested the way it is explained, or the way we understand it, okay, or learn it. However, there are individuals where it is not giving us, exactly those kind of results. And then that, never ending debate at times in astrology begins, that is this a real science which talks about what actually will happen in one's life? Or is it just a science of probability where we are only guiding our clients or our, friends and family with possibilities that might happen in this lifetime? This science is not a science of possibility, first of all. This science is yatharth. This science is real, guys. This science is absolutely real. Okay. And today I am going to touch upon the most important and maybe very rarely discussed topic of Vedic astrology, because astrology is understood as a science wherein an individual, goes to an astrologer, maybe in the digital world today, contacts an astrologer, maybe through mobile, through their email, and there's an online consultation or a phone consultation or maybe a face-to-face consultation. And there are set of questions that the individual goes with to that astrologer. The astrologer, using his learning and knowledge on the subject of astrology or Vedic astrology, will only limit answering those particular set of questions which the individual has asked. I'm not blaming the astrologers completely because, most of the professional astrologers will find it very difficult. Radhe Radhe. Most of the astrologers will find it very difficult to really go into depth using the science, using that client's Vedic chart as a tool to guide that individual, what that individual needs to do in this janma, in this lifetime. What are those acts or karmas which definitely the individual should not get into? I'm not saying that the predictive science is not to be used. Yes, we have to. At the end of the day, the client has come in with some set of questions, and those set of questions have to be answered. We have to elaborate and explain them. However, this Vedic chart will tell us what exactly the universe wants. When I say universe, so I'm referring it to the 9 planets that we use in Vedic astrology. Let's keep it that way. So what the cosmos, those 9 planets want that particular individual to do in this janma. You're born with a yoga. How do you activate that yoga? People will say that a particular planet's Mahadasha or a particular planet's Antardasha will eventually activate that yoga, whichever planets are forming that yoga. I agree, but to a certain extent. How do we ensure that that particular yoga, whichever 2 planets are, forming that yoga, or maybe one single planet also is competent to form a yoga? What is yoga? A planet in a Rashi, it's a yoga. A planet in a nakshatra is a yoga. A planet in its own house, own Rashi, or in a friendly Rashi, or maybe 2 planets coming together and sitting in one house or in one Rashi. So yoga is not necessarily it is about 2 or more planets. A yoga can be formed by a singular planet also. We talk about the Panch Mahapurush Raj Yogas, the 5 planets which form the Panch Mahapurush Raj Yogas. So a single planet is competent to actually make one of those, you know, grade 1 Raj Yogas. The Panch Mahapurush Raj Yogas is one of them. So a Malabya Mahapurush Raj Yoga is formed by Venus. A Bhadra Mahapurush Raj Yoga is formed by Mercury. A Shash Namak Mahapurush Raj Yoga will be formed by Saturn. A Ruchak Namak Mahapurush Raj Yoga will be formed by Mars. A Hans Namak Mahapurush Raj Yoga will be formed by Jupiter. And these individual planets, irrespective of they are conjunct with a different planet in your horoscope or not. The rule says they being placed in a particular Rashi, maybe their own sign or their exaltation sign. And if any of these 5 planets are placed in the cardinal houses, house number 1, the first house, which is the ascendant, house number 4, the 4th house, 7th house or 10th house, and they will qualify to be one of those Panch Mahapurush Raj Yogas. And every astrologer will tell you, wait for the Mahadasha of that planet or wait for the Antardasha of that planet and you will see wonders in your life. It doesn't work that way, friends. And that is why this science of Vedic astrology doesn't end up getting that due respect which it should get, like any other science. We have medical science. It is just, making, I would say, it is progressing leaps and bounds over the last, over decades. And medical science is something which we respect because we end up believing medical science is a science which saves our lives. Okay, we have an ailment, we have some illness. Medical science helps us to come out of that ailment. It helps us to get cured. Okay, and medical science, understand, guys, at times it's not just the surgery or the medication that does wonders. There are certain dietary restrictions prescribed. There are certain lifestyle changes which are prescribed for certain ailments. So the same goes With Vedic astrology, like an allopathic medicine, will do a certain thing. If you are running high on cholesterol, if you're running high on triglycerides, yes, they will prescribe you those statins, the blood thinners, which will eventually help lowering down your triglycerides or maybe cholesterol levels. But will the doctor not suggest to have a more active life? Walk for at least an hour, 45 minutes daily, do yoga, sleep on time, wake up on time, do not have too much of oily and fatty food. Are these not lifestyle changes which are also suggested along with the medications that a doctor is prescribing? And understand, people who are just having those pills, okay, those medications, those statins, they will struggle to lower down their triglycerides or cholesterol levels or to lead a healthy life unless and until, along with the medication, they do not follow certain dietary restrictions or they do not follow certain lifestyle changes. Same way, in Vedic astrology, a particular yoga will tell us that, okay, if you're born with this yoga in your chart, this is what will happen during the Mahadasha, Antardasha of that said planet or the said planets, if there are more than one which are coming together and forming an yoga. However, there are certain modifications in the way you are leading your life, or there are certain things, lifestyle changes maybe. It might even call for certain dietary restrictions. And if not dietary restrictions, it definitely will involve with certain lifestyle changes, certain karmas that you're supposed to perform in this janma. And then you actually end up activating that particular yoga with which you are born. And then, as per Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra or Gemini Sutras, those yogas get manifested beautifully. And that is when you realize that this is not a science of probability, this is a science of reality. So, guys, I was just trying to set the context here. Understand. And I will now explain you how it works and what I am referring to when I say that you have to do certain things in this janma for a yoga to work in your favor. And before I proceed further, may I request all my viewers to please subscribe to this channel and help me grow this family of Astro Satyajit on YouTube. It encourages, it enables me to make more such quality informative videos. My only intent is to actually, share the learning and knowledge that I'm gathering over the last 23 plus years with all of you. I genuinely want every one of you to use Vedic astrology in your lives, not just as a mere predictive tool, not just to call a number and ask the astrologer when I'm going to get married, when will I get a promotion, when I'm going to get the new job, when I'm going to buy the new car, when I'm going to buy my new house. Okay, those are relevant questions for most of us, but it is more imperative for us to understand, how do I need to lead this life? What are the planets telling me as per the configuration, as per the placements of these 9 planets in my Vedic horoscope? What exactly is God guiding me to do? When I say God, see, Vedic astrology is an English term, guys, okay? It is Jyotisha. Jyotish. Jyot means light. Ish means God. So Vedic astrology or Jyotisha is nothing but light of God. So these 9 planets are not just mere planets. Okay, they are not just like it's Venus in the space, Venus, Mercury, Mars. They're all planets, I understand. But Vedic Jyotisha or Jyotisha, which is God of light. So the way these planets are placed, the way these planets are connected with each other, the way the planets are making certain yogas in your horoscope, God is telling us, these are the karmas you need to perform. That will ensure that that blueprint with which you are born, okay, that exactly gets manifested. And let me also tell you, we it's not about wearing a gemstone and activating a planet, guys. It's not that simple. If gemstones would have done wonders, then all astrologers would have had billionaires in their families. And the big politicians and the business tycoons only would have been limited to, these astrological, I would say families, or rather those families who've been doing astrology for generations. But that's not the case. First of all, you need to be born with that kind of a combination in your horoscope. And then you need to act in accordance, or you need to act in harmony with those planets which are making that yoga in your horoscope. Unless and until you act, unless and until those lifestyle changes or those karmas are performed in this janma, again, it will just remain a science of possibility for you to make it real, to make it really happen, to make it really getting manifested in one's life. Please stay with me in this entire conversation today. Maybe it's a glimpse today, because if I continue speaking on Vedic astrology and the lifestyle changes one needs to make in this lifetime, I can speak on and on and on. Okay. It is, it's an ocean. When we say Jyotisha, it's an ocean, guys. So let me now bring you back to this. You all will also agree, you might have heard certain astrologers. Pranam, God bless you. You might have heard many astrologers saying that no planet is bad, or no planet is only bad, and no planet is only good. Every planet might have, or rather it will have, the good and the not so good karak tattvas attached to it. Okay? Very simple. Other than the luminaries, the sun and the moon, please understand, every planet owns two different zodiacs, two different rashis. Okay? There are 12 rashis. 5 planets own two each. That makes it 10 signs. And Leo belongs to Sun, Cancer belongs to Moon. So that makes it 12 Rashis from Aries to Pisces. So in your Vedic horoscope, a particular planet might be owning a very auspicious, a very positive sthan. Maybe that planet is a trine lord. And at the same time, maybe that planet is also a Trik Bhava lord. Understand this. We talk about Markesh, the planet or the planets which owns your or rules your second house and the seventh house. Understand this. But we also know that if we want sukha from relationships, if we want sukha or happiness from our married life, it is again the seventh house lord or the seventh house that we will refer to. If you're talking about accumulated wealth, if you're talking about net worth, resources available, the house of sustenance, Dhan Bhava, is again the second house. Hey, hi, GP. So now understand, God bless you. Now understand this. When I'm saying that a particular or any particular planet is not just going to give us good results, but it might be also responsible within the domain of giving us struggles in this janma, maybe giving us illnesses in this janma, maybe giving us unwanted expenses in this janma. So if a planet is supposed to give us both good and bad results, or both positive and negative results, or in a particular Mahadasha or Antardasha, if the negative Karak Tattvas as well as the positive Karak Tattvas are going to get activated of that planet, then these are the lifestyle changes or the karmas that we'll have to perform so that we are able to increase the positive karak tattvas in this janma, and we are able to decrease the negative karak tattvas in this janma. That is exactly how I was trying to relate a high cholesterol, a high triglyceride guy having statins, the blood thinners, and also making lifestyle changes of having an active life, walking daily for 45 minutes to an hour, maybe going for swimming every day, making dietary restrictions, not having too much of oily and fatty food. So when you are waiting for that Mahadasha to come and you just think that overnight now it will start doing wonders for me, that wait is not absolutely illogical. Yes, if you have a planet well placed, well disposed, and if that planet is making, a Dhan yoga or a Raj yoga, yes, the Dhan yoga is going to get activated, or you will get a lot of wealth in that Dasha Mahadasha. If it's a Raj yoga, you will get a lot of respect. You will get that kingly kind of, for sure. So I just got a request from someone very dear. So yes, I will cover the billionaire codes of Jupiter and Ketu, and rather let me share my screen, wherein, just for an example, I'll try and show you that how this works. Okay, so I've just taken the Prashna Kundli. This is the current date and time of the location from where I am recording, or rather I'm doing this interaction now. And if you see, this is a Taurus ascendant horoscope. Okay, it's Taurus of Vrishabha Rashi, which is rising in the Lagna, Taurus ascendant individual. And I am today just referring how Vedic astrology is to be used. Okay, how Vedic astrology is to be used, so that I touched on that topic. I said the second lord is the Dhanesh. The second lord is also the Markesh. The seventh lord is the Saptamesh and also a Markesh. So the happiness from relationships, the success in business, I would rather say high status in society, huge fame, name, again, we will have to refer to the seventh house lord or to the seventh house. Seventh is nothing but, if you consider Bhavat Bhavam, it is 10th from the 10th. So it is absolutely imperative. A depleted seventh house lord can't give you that fame that you're expecting or running for. It cannot be just your Lagna lord and the 10th lord. The contribution has to be from the seventh house lord as well. Again, when we are talking about those billionaires, we understand the involvement of the Artha Trikon, the second house of the horoscope, the sixth house of the horoscope, and the 10th house of the horoscope, and their respective lords have to be involved in that Dhan yoga. The Dhan yoga should get formed in the Artha Trikon, or the Artha Trikon lords should be involved in a Dhan yoga. But still, after having all that, you will find different individuals during the Mahadasha, Antardasha of the same planets involved, getting different kind of results. Somebody is just making maybe millions, and some few of them maybe are becoming multi-billionaires in that Mahadasha, Antardasha. So why that difference? Why that favoritism with certain individuals? It's not God or not this universe which is having any bias for any individual. It is about what are the karmas, how is that individual leading his or her life, what are the tasks that the individual is performing, what is the lifestyle that individual leads. Is the lifestyle negating that positive qualities of that yoga, or that lifestyle enhancing the positive qualities of that yoga which is formed in one's horoscope? Let's understand just randomly from this. Maybe I'll consider any combination here. So if we consider Venus and Saturn, now understand this. Venus and Saturn mutually aspecting each other. And right now, I'm not going to refer to the Navamsha in this discussion. Neither I'm going to go to that Dashamsha chart, nor will I go to, Shashti Amsha. The objective of this interaction today is not to, I would say, do a analysis of a particular yoga, or because if I had to only explain you yogas, I would have opened up a chart which has that relevant yoga in his or her horoscope, and then I would have explained it. Right now, the objective is if Venus and Saturn, let's say that it is a great Raj Yoga, and it is not just a hypothetical situation. This is exactly which will be, for this chart. Venus is what? The ascendant lord, guys. Ascendant lord. Okay. Invariably the most favorable planet. Okay. Because that's you. Your mortal self, your Sharira is Venus. You as an individual is Venus. Okay. Venus owns your first house. And see, this is that example that I was referring to. Venus also happens to be a Trik Bhava Lord. So Venus also is owning a Dusthan. The sixth house, the eighth house, and the 12th house are those Trik Bhavas. So Venus also is owning your sixth house. Okay. We understand that the moment a planet is the owner of your ascendant, or if it is owning any of the trines, okay, then definitely your Dosthana thing will get nullified. But the reality is, guys, Venus will have no bias for you because you are a Venus ruled Jatak or Jatika. Venus has to give results of both the first house and the sixth house. And also understand, for a Taurus ascendant individual, the Mool Trikon Rashi of Venus falls in the sixth. It is just the Swarashi. It is the own house of Venus. This is that home office. This is the Mool Trikon Rashi of Venus, right? And Saturn happens to be the Rajyo Karka planet for a Vrishab Lagna Jatak or Jatika. Saturn owns both the ninth house. So we have Capricorn in the ninth house in this example horoscope, and we have Aquarius in the 10th house in the example horoscope. So simultaneously, Saturn is owning both the ninth and the 10th, a Lakshmi Sthan and a Vishnu Sthan. Saturn qualifies to be the Rajyokari Graha. Rajyokari Graha. Hey, hi Megha. Today it's a wonderful evening. It seems I have a lot of students. And these students are special because uh, they they were the ones who believed in me, because they were part of my first batch when I started teaching Vedic astrology right back in December 2024. And it looks like I'm doing a session with them. So good. I have all of them joined in. Uh, Thank you. Thank you for supporting. Now, if Saturn is the Rajyokari Graha, guys, the 9th house lord and the 10th house lord, and if Venus is your ascendant lord, mutual aspect between the ascendant lord and the Rajyokari Graha, that is Saturn in this case, is Raj Yoga, grade 1 Raj Yoga. This is a very good Raj Yoga. This is a very, very, very auspicious and a very strong Raj Yoga. Understand, the Lagna Lord and the 9th house Lord mutually aspecting together. It is you yourself. This is God's grace. God's grace is over you. It will prevail your entire life. And it is also it is also owning the house of honor, respect, status, your power. Again, so that means, and Venus and Saturn, the best buddies in Vedic astrology, guys. They are the selfless. They have unconditional love for each other. They're buddies, they're the best friends. Venus can never harm Saturn, and vice versa. Saturn will never harm Venus. That's how, closely they are. However, we talk about Venus and Saturn making billionaires. Such combinations. Really, this is one criteria, that if your Venus and Saturn are beautifully connected with each other, and in this example horoscope, definitely they are mutually aspecting each other, no doubts about it. And they're also owning the right houses in this case. Yes, this is the house of Rogue, Rin, Shatru, but understand this is also one of the trines of the Artha Trikon, the second house, the sixth house, and the 10th house. So the sixth house Lord Venus, mutually aspected by the 10th house Lord Saturn, that's one yoga. The Lagna Lord Venus, mutually aspected, or they are mutually aspecting each other with the 9th house Lord. However, when I say that these guys will become multi-billionaires, in the Kal Purush Kundli, if I rotate this and make it a Mesh Lagna, guys, it will become easier. Venus owns the second house, which is accumulated wealth. In the Kal Purush Kundli, the Kal Purush Kundli will begin from Aries, and Saturn will rule the house of gains, the Labsthan, the 11th house. So any chart which will have a beautiful connection between the second house lord of the Kal Purush Kundli with the 11th house lord of the Kal Purush Kundli, which is Venus and Saturn, it is grade 1 Dhan Yoga. No doubts about it. And astrologers then will say, when few people after listening to this video, they might have that connect in their chart, and they are not multi-billionaires. Maybe they are doing well, but they are not having that kind of money. And then they will say that does a Venus Saturn yoga work for all? And does it end up giving money to all? Yes, it does. But now understand the disclaimer. First of all, you need to have the Venus Dasha coming in your life, or maybe the Saturn Dasha coming in your life, or at least in a favorable Mahadasha, we will wait for the Venus Antardasha and the Saturn Antardasha. And remember, guys, in Vedic astrology, in Vimshotri Dasha scheme, the overall picture, the context is set, the overall flavor is set by the Mahadasha Lord, no doubts about it. We make that house as the Lagna, wherever the Mahadasha Lord is placed in our horoscope, and we try reading the chart to understand how things will get manifested and even to time certain events. However, the Antardashas play a crucial role on actually giving us results. And yes, when I say Antardasha in a particular Mahadasha, the Gochara, the transits will also trigger finally that particular event. And the Pratyantar Dasha, which is so I only max refer to Mahadasha, Antardasha, and Pratyantar. I don't go to the Sukshma and the Pran Dasha. The time of birth accuracy again is a concern in most of the cases. And you need not end up going beyond Pratyantar, because Pratyantar will give you whatever results the Antardasha Lord is giving during the Antardasha. How will you enjoy, or what will be your experience because of that outcome? That is to be defined by your Pratyantar Dasha Lord. Okay. Now, coming back to our topic, people will say you have to have Venus Mahadasha or Saturn Mahadasha, as I said, for this billionaire yoga to get manifested or to get fulfilled. Then some people will say, no, you refer to the Navamsha, and please check, is Saturn and Venus still connected in the Navamsha? Are they well placed in the Navamsha? Some people might even go to the extent, and yes, I do finally will end up validating everything from these two charts in particular. Whatever I see in the Lagna Kundli, whatever I get to see in the D1 chart, has to be vetted, validated from two divisional charts for sure. One is your D9, which is a Navamsha, and the other is your D60, which is a Shashti Amsha. Okay. Let's consider that somewhere that connect, those multi-billionaires. Uh, you know, I I usually look at Jupiter Ketu getting connected, and it's a billionaire yoga. And there is another one which is Venus and Saturn getting connected, it's visible in this example horoscope. However, this really becomes more stronger if we have a beautifully connected Venus and Saturn in the Shashtiyamsha Kundli. And even if the time of birth is a concern, and you are not sure about your exact lagna in the Shashtiyamsha chart, we will refer to the Lagna Tulya Shashtiyamsha. See, in this example horoscope, by default, the Shashtiyamsha Lagna is also Taurus. But if that was not the case, I would have rotated the chart by making Taurus as the Lagna. As you might have heard, a concept called Lagna Tulya Navamsh, and I've explained it in my earlier interactions. Even more important or equally important is Lagna Tulya Shashtiyamsha. And usually, if you are, plus minus 10, 15 minutes of a time bracket, if you are sure of your birth time, then the planetary placements in the Shashtiyamsha, the Rashis in which the zodiacs in which the particular planets are placed, they don't get shifted. Yes, the Lagna may be, getting changed every 2 minutes. However, the moment you rotate the chart and you make a Lagna Tulya Shashtiyamsha, and there if you find a Venus and Saturn getting connected there, guys, yes, that is giving you that billionaire's kundli, that billionaire yoga. And then you should wait for that Saturn Mahadasha or the Venus Mahadasha to come into your lives. Or rather, if it is unfortunately not going to come in during the right ages, then definitely the Venus Antardashas and the Saturn Antardashas will give you a huge amount of wealth or money. But now what do we do? Do we just wait because we see the yoga and we are sure that now this is going to happen? Because that's what all astrologers are talking, and they are making reels and lectures. I'm also saying, yes, it's a billionaire yoga. So will everyone get if Saturn and Venus are making a connect, as well as Jupiter and Ketu is making a connect, definitely it's a billionaire's kundli, no doubts about it. However, let me come to the exact point, and this is most important. Please ensure you understand, appreciate this. Only then will you realize that Vedic astrology is now working in our favor. It's exactly getting manifested how it is written in the texts by our rishis rather. Okay. Venus is wealth karka. Okay. Venus is, I would say, Sanjeevani. Saturn is Karm Karka. Saturn is that represents perseverance, patience, and definitely, as I say, it's Karm Karka. So if a Venus Saturn combination has to be activated, I will give you just maybe a couple of examples of one example. There are different ways that we can make this, yoga getting activated and beautifully working in our favor. If I say this is wealth karka, this is relationship karka, this is finance, and this is my karma, this is karma karka, then I should work in a financial institution, or I should work where money or finance is involved. So maybe somebody who's trying to do an MBA, their major has to be finance. If this is the horoscope and if they want the Saturn Venus yoga to get activated. Venus is money, Saturn is work, karma. So your karma should be attached or should be related somewhere to money. You can't be doing a job where finance plays no role. You can't be a mere operations guy who is not responsible for numbers. Somewhere the finance, okay? So basically, when I am saying the chartered accountants, the CFOs, the finance guys, let me put it that way. Venus, understand, in the Kal Purush Kundli, it is the second house lord and the seventh house lord. So that means relationship also is under the purview of Venus. Okay. Your spouse is also Venus. So such individuals who are born with a billionaire yoga combination because of Venus and Saturn being so beautifully connected in their charts, they should do, their profession should be where finance, related to finance should be their profession. They have to be, they should take care, love, respect, and should never cheat their spouse. Because, or rather, why should I say spouse? They should not cheat anyone in any relationship. Relationships have to be given. You have to maintain integrity. You have to be honest in every relationship in this Janma. You can't end up cheating anyone in any relationship. Why? Because if you are cheating in a relationship, if you are not, I would say, attached to a profession where finance is involved, if you do not give, money or the Dhan or Ma Lakshmi the due respect of giving that wealth respect, you should not treat wealth as, a thing that at times, you get the wealth through ancestors. Maybe it's wealth that has been there in the family and you've been, the one to whom which it has now reached. You have to respect wealth. You have to respect money. You have to respect relationships. You cannot do financial frauds. You cannot do any cheating in any relationship. And you also have, if you can, your profession, your karma should be related to either finance, money, or maybe relationships. So you can be that, shadi.com fellow. Sorry, I just used the word shadi.com. It can be any matrimonial site. So you are in the business of relationships. You're bringing in two people together and they are maybe living happily ever after, or they're getting married to each other. So it's a platform where two people are coming together. So business of relationships. Okay. Any of these things which I said, just having this Venus Saturn getting connected, even if it is in your Shashtiyamsha for that matter, it is getting qualified in your Navamsha. You are getting the Mahadasha of Venus or Saturn, or maybe both in your in this Janma. Because it's possible, right? If you're born in Jupiter Mahadasha or Saturn Mahadasha, Jupiter Mahadasha will be the most appropriate one. Because if you're born in Jupiter Mahadasha, you might actually, while you are, that teenager, maybe, you might get that 19 years of, Saturn Mahadasha. Even if you don't get the entire 16 years of Jupiter, let's assume you get 6 or 10 years of Jupiter. Still, from the age of 10 till 29, you'll get Saturn. You'll have Mercury 17 years. Then there'll be a 7 years of Ketu. And then finally, you will again get a 20 years of Venus. So between your age of 0 to maybe 60, 70, there's a possibility of you seeing the entire two Mahadashas of both Saturn and Venus. However, these things, these karmas, these, you have to be attached to such kind of work. You have to refrain from such kind of karma where you will end up doing a financial fraud in this janma, or you will cheat in any relationship in this janma. that is going to not only spoil the beautiful Dhan yoga, the multi-billionaire yoga, which is getting formed in a horoscope, but it will also trigger the negative karak tattvas owned by that planet in your particular horoscope. Let me give you another. I can see another combination. We can see a Sun, Mercury, Mars. Okay. And today's interaction, I'll pause it here, guys, while after I cover this yoga, and definitely I'll be more regular. Yes, I was tied up with certain consultations, and maybe there's a gap of a couple of days before I came live again today evening. But let me see. Yes, it's Dhanteras tomorrow, and then it's a Diwali season. It's a festive season. So maybe you may excuse if I'm not that regular for the next 2, 3 days. Yes, from next week onwards, post Bhai Dooj, maybe definitely I'll be more regular on a daily basis. And let me see if I can also be available once in the forenoon and then later on in my usual evening hours. Now, people talk so much of Budh Aditya Yoga, which is Sun and Mercury. And yes, it is a Budh Aditya Yoga. Maybe people don't talk much about Mars Mercury Yoga, because what we say, Mars and Mercury are not comfortable with each other. But let me just rotate this chart and let's, for a moment, consider that this is a Libra ascendant individual's chart. Okay. So we have Libra rising in the ascendant. This is just for explaining the concept, guys. Mars, Mercury, Sun placed in the Lagna. There is an exchange between the 12th house Lord Mercury along with Venus. So Venus is in the 12th house being the ascendant Lord, and Mercury being the 12th house Lord is in the ascendant. So both Mercury and Venus are getting power. They are sitting in each other's house. And that too, Venus in the Mool Trikona sign of Mercury and Mercury in the Mool Trikona sign of Venus. People might think that this is a debilitated Venus. So it's a gone case, but no. It just tells us that this person will do better, both professionally or money-wise and health-wise, if this person operates or gets settled in a foreign location or in a location which is far from his place of birth, or having a different culture, different languages spoken, different eating habits. So it's in a foreign setup. If this person and finally this person in this example horoscope will reach a foreign setup. This person will not be definitely working, or their base location finally in this Janma will not be their place of birth. It will be far away for sure, because there's a clear-cut exchange between the 12th house Lord Mercury and the Lagna Lord Venus. However, this Rashi Parivartan is making both Venus and Mercury very strong. This is one. Now let's assume that we will have many Tula Lagna Jataks, okay, irrespective of the date and time. This is quite common. There might be, different years, different months, different dates. We might have these 3 planets, and let's assume these 4 planets the same way. So Venus in Virgo, debilitated in the 12th house, and Venus is the only exception which performs very well in the 12th house. Ma Lakshmi on the feet of Sri Hari. So Ma Lakshmi will bless us, no doubts about it. See, this is the feet of Sri Hari. When the moment I refer to the 12th house, that is feet of Sri Hari. And Venus is Ma Lakshmi. So Ma Lakshmi in the feet of Sri Hari will bless us, will become more potent to bless us, or bless the individual rather. And now there's a big Dhan yoga getting formed, guys. Now this person should again be a multi-billionaire, or should be a billionaire at least. See, the Labhesh, the 11th house Lord, the 2nd house Lord, and the 9th house Lord Mercury, beautifully getting connected in the Lagna. And the Lagna Lord Venus, the ascendant Lord Venus, is anyways very strong. This is anyways showing 12th house Venus shows what? Huge expenses on things that you like, huge expenses on luxury, comfort. those material things. And if you are spending so much of money on your luxury and comfort, you need to have that kind of money to spend. So it's a blessing if you have a 12th house Venus, guys. And this is definitely in this example horoscope. It is also gaining strength because of the mutual exchange of Rashis between Mercury and Venus. However, not all individuals who will have this combination will have equal amount of wealth that they will acquire in this janma. And that is when certain astrologers will say that no, the science that Satyajit is talking about, or Astro Satyajit is discussing in his interactions, that is not applicable to all 8.5 billion people. It is applicable to everyone, all those who have this combination. And just imagine, it is quite possible that every yoga, bare minimum 8.5% is always possible in this world. There are only 12 ascendants possible. It's an 8.5 billion population. So 1 by 12 has to be the probability for sure. And 1 by 12 is what? 8.5%, right? If my maths is right. I hope yes. So 8.5% of the population, just imagine, it's a huge number. The possibility of they having this similar combination or the same combination. Let's not talk about the other planets right now. I'm just trying to give you that Dhan Yoga flavor. Now, if in a Libra ascendant, this Mercury, Mars, Sun, they're all supposed to give him money to the individual, to the Jataka, to the individual. And if Mercury and Mars, we are saying they're not very comfortable with each other, okay? They are planets of two different camps. One camp is Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu. The other one is Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Mars, right? Yes, Mercury is a friend of Sun. Mercury maybe is neutral to Jupiter, but definitely Mercury, Mars, don't have too much affinity for each other. But now, how will this person make money or will activate this Dhan Yoga? That's important. We talked about Venus and Saturn. Now we are talking about this combination. See, Mercury is our learning karka, education karka, speech karka. Sun is fame karka, government karka, authority karka, soul karka for sure. Sun is also the soul significator for all of us. I'm not referring to the char atmakarak. I'm referring to the fixed atmakarak, which is sun for all. And Mars is energy karka. Mars is the sharir karka, because Mars is the ascendant lord of the first house of the Kalpurush Kundali. Mars is the lord of Aries as well as Scorpio. Scorpio is the 8th house of the Kalpurush Kundali. Aries is the first house of the Kalpurush Kundali. So all mortal beings, the Sharir Karka is actually Mars, not just your ascendant lord, which in this case is Venus. But from the Kalpurush Kundali perspective, Mars happens to be your Lagna Karka, the first house Karka. And Mars is equally your 8th house Karka, because Scorpio happens to be the 8th Rashi in the Kalpurush Kundali. And just see, in a Tula Lagna, it gets beautifully connected. Mars happens to be the Kalpurush Kundali's first house lord and the 8th house lord. I'll just show you once I rotate it from Aries. So Mars becomes the ascendant lord and Mars becomes the 8th house lord if in the Kalpurush Kundali. And the example that we were referring to for Libra, Venus becomes the Lagna lord and the 8th house lord. So that means this whole connect between the Lagna lord and the 8th lord, or connection between the first house and the 8th house, is very, very, very strongly seen in Libra ascendant Jatak Jatika. No doubts about it. And now understand, if this is Sharir Karka, this is energy Karka, this is learning Karka, education Karka, speech Karka, this is our fame Karka, government power authority Karka, this person should be studying. See, this is study, education. something related to the energy, something related to energy, anything related to energy. These days, renewable energy is something which is very in, and energy, is the only thing which is constant, E equal to mc square. So I'll not get into the physics of it. Anything that remains that cannot be destroyed is only energy and nothing else. So that is Mars. That's the reason why Rishi Parashar gave Mars the the ownership of being the ascendant lord of the Kalpurush Kundli, of being the ascendant lord of Sri Hari's horoscope, which is the Kalpurush Kundli and nothing else. So Mars is so important, energy. Mars is occult, 8th house, research. This person has to have certain education related to energy, should do education related to the body, should do education related to the 8th house. So if they want to activate this Dhan Yoga, if it is getting formed by, the contribution or the combination of Mars and Mercury, they should definitely study astrology. My students typically ask me in every batch, and they say that, should we study astrology? Can we study astrology? Can we become astrologers? I'll today answer it differently. More important than can you study or can you become an astrologer, it is important for everyone, first of all, to know astrology so that they can make those lifestyle changes according to what God is telling us as per the configuration he has given us in this Janma. Plus, if a Mars Mercury is connected, so if you are studying any subject which is related to energy, it can be any form of energy, or you should study definitely Jyotisha. If Mercury and Venus are connected, you should study Jyotisha. Okay, I'll tell you why I said. Venus has Sanjeevani Vidya, which is the dead again become alive by the Sanjeevani Vidya which Shukracharya Venus has. So it's life after death or coming back after seeing death. Again, 8th house. So Venus anyways is connected to the 8th house because of the Sanjeevani Vidya. Mars definitely owns the Sharir, the first house of the Kalpurush Kundli and the 8th house of the Kalpurush Kundli. And Mercury is, as I said, our speech karka, learning, education karka. So anybody who has a great Raj Yoga or a Dhan Yoga or any good yoga, and they want the good results to get increased, or if there are any bad results which that yoga can trigger, and if it is Mars Mercury or if it is Mercury Venus, the easiest and the best way is to study astrology. Mars and Mercury is beautiful for learning martial arts, learning yoga, learning any science where the body is involved. So doctors, surgeons also are to be seen from Mars Mercury. The whole physiology, okay, the body. If they are surgeons, they are studying the body. So Mercury Mars is about studying the body. Mercury Mars is studying astrology, learning astrology. Mercury Venus, again, learning astrology. Mercury Venus is studying finance, studying anything where finance. So basically they can study stock markets. I'm not, again, it's not you have to go and invest in a stock market. Maybe speculative gain is not applicable in your chart. It is not that you have to become an astrologer and to earn a living through astrology or to make a name out of astrology. Venus Mercury, if it is making a yoga and you want that yoga to get manifested completely, learn astrology, study about financials, study about study or your education should have a subject of finance, or you can study the stock markets because you're studying from where it is just money and nothing else. Similarly, Mars, Mercury, learn martial arts, learn yoga. The other day, I just was talking about a Chandramangala yoga, Moon and Mars. It's again, grade 1 Dhan yoga. It gives you immense money. Mars is Bhumi Karka, Bhumi Putra. Moon is water. Moon is food. So anybody who has a Moon Mars combination, and of that Moon Mars are getting connected, and they are creating a negative yoga based on which houses Moon and Mars rules in your horoscope, or it is making a positive yoga based on the houses Moon and Mars owns in your horoscope. Go and swim on a daily basis. Exert, or rather, spend that energy, which is Mars. Let your sharir exert in water, which is Moon. Sit on the floor and eat your food. Bhumi Putra. Bhumi Karka is Mars. Food Karka is Moon. So people who have Moon Mars, they should swim on a daily basis. They should sit on the floor and eat their food. Forget those dining tables and those other setups. In the earlier days, if you ask your grandmothers and grandfathers, they'll tell you, large families together, they should all sit on the floor and eat together. The negative Mars in their chart never used to give them that kind of bad results. Because if the Mars was negatively placed or was supposed to give you negative results, somewhere by just sitting and having food on ground, by just giving that bhumi, the dharti, that due respect, you are activating the positive karak tattvas of Mars. And if Mars and Moon are making Chandramangala yoga, Shashi Mangala yoga, and if it is forming a Dhan yoga in your case, then also swim, or as I said, sit on the floor and eat your food. So by all this, I'm trying to tell you or suggest one thing. It's not about, again, gemstones, which will do wonders. Those gemstones at times might just work as statins. So the blood thinners, the allopathic medicines, there are always side effects, guys. When you have a statin, you tend to lower your hemoglobin for sure. The blood gets thin, and you don't want to be on medications for life. You will make certain life changes. The same way, the planet which is forming a yoga, yes, that yoga will get fulfilled in their particular dasha periods, but you will make these lifestyle changes, and then you will see how beautifully Vedic astrology, Jyotisha, is doing wonders for all of us. So again, as I say every time, it's not just a mere tool for predicting. It is a science of reality to understand what God is telling us to do, how we should lead our life, what we should do in this lifetime. That is what our horoscope tells us. So I will park it here for today, and thank you all who've been there with me. And I would also request all my viewers to please, listen to the entire discussion, the entire audio, the entire video. And please do subscribe to my channel. Please do like and comment and suggest if there are any thing that you would like to suggest with this particular video, or any other topic that I might have covered in Vedic astrology, or you want me that I should cover, you can please suggest. Please like, subscribe to my channel. Do share my videos with all other astrology enthusiasts. And please help me increase this family of Astro Satyajit on YouTube. God bless you all. Jai Shri Ram. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha.